All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we're going to talk about the Chiefs and talk about if they are the new villain in the NFL. For me, at least, it's. I mean, I think we both agree. It seems like it's trending that way. I go back to the first day of media week, and when the Chiefs are coming out, everybody's booing them. I mean, that also has to do with there being way more 49ers fans there. But, even when, Travis Kelsey's talking and they're booing and he's like, oh, I'm ready to play right now. Patrick Mahomes, what he was saying up on stage when he was standing next to Brock Purdy, saying Niners Nation, we're here. It just seems like they're kind of embracing, becoming the new villain. And even Mahomes was quoted saying that as well. So it seems like, and you're a Boston guy, so obviously the Patriots for many years were considered that. And now it just seems like, the Chiefs have kind of taken that over. Because, I mean, you go back to when the Patriots and the Chiefs played against each other in the championship game,
Hmm.
and, everybody was, hoping that the Chiefs were going to win that game. Personally, for me, actually, that was probably one of the greatest games I've ever seen Tom Brady play, just because of every third down that they needed to
Oh yeah,
convert
that
in
fourth
that game.
quarter.
Yeah, and overtime, it was him to Edelman to Hogan to Gronk. I don't know. For me, I mean, you could go back to so many other games and you could say, oh, this was Brady's best game. I mean, even the Super Bowl he lost against the Eagles when he threw for 500 yards. But for me, that was one of the best games I've ever seen Brady play. But that was, the Chiefs wanted to win. Everybody wanted the Chiefs to win that game. Now, you flash forward 6 years later, everybody is hoping that the Chiefs lose. And it really kind of seems like, yeah, they're the new villain now. I mean, they're trying to go for their third championship. They're in their fourth Super Bowl in the last 5 years. Yeah, people. It seems like people are sick of them. So yeah, I guess you can consider them the new villain. So what are your thoughts with that?
Yeah, I think it's funny how that works because you're right. In that AFC Championship game, it's funny because it was almost a passing of the torch, and a lot of the times when we use that term in sports, it's really one guy being great and then the next up and comer and taking it from them. The way that this whole villainy role works in the NFL, and a lot of time a general theme in sports, is people hate dominance and they hate dynasty talk. So in this case, it was everybody rooting for this up and coming team in the Chiefs because it's like, yeah, they're so fun. We hate the Patriots. We want the Patriots to lose. And that was, the last real moment of the Patriots being the team. And then it's been all Chiefs pretty much in the AFC since then. And yeah, I agree. I think it's almost a stamp of approval from NFL fans as a whole that they're just so good that they beat your favorite team. And everybody wants to see the parody, but that's just sort of that level of greatness sort of supersedes the typical parody that we see in the NFL because, especially, we're so conditioned, I feel like, as NFL fans, that it's so hard to remain great year in and year
Right.
out. Like, we've seen the Patriots do it, but even in that time where the Patriots were the dynasty, these other teams that were sort of flashes in the pan, like you look at the Super Bowl between the Broncos and the Panthers, where the Panthers were this really fun team. Broncos were, a lot more defensive, maybe not quite as aesthetically appealing, but obviously a great team. Both of those teams missed the playoffs the next year. And this whole idea of a Super Bowl hangover, we saw what happened to the Eagles down the stretch. You just typically lose so much personnel from players themselves to members of the coaching staff that to year in, year out contend, it is so hard. And as NFL fans, we're typically not really conditioned for that. And the Chiefs have just reached this point where Mahomes and Reed are really two of the greatest at what they do. And when you have that nucleus, like we saw with the Patriots, you can afford to be a little more flexible around the edges.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I feel like this doesn't get talked about enough, but the Patriots kind of had two separate dynasties.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put them into one, I guess, just because it was really with the same coach and the same quarterback throughout.
Mhm.
But they went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. I feel like
Yeah.
that doesn't get talked about enough.
No, very true.
So people could say like, "Oh, we were sick of seeing the Patriots." Well, it's like, yeah, the Patriots are making it to championship games. They made it to the Super Bowl against the Giants, but they didn't win for a long time. It's not until they get back to it in 2014 and they beat the Seahawks on the Malcolm Butler interception. Again, that was one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time. If you want to
Mhm.
talk about that,
That was my
um,
personal
yeah,
favorite.
yeah, it's a great. I mean, listen, there was a lot of those. But yeah, I mean, it's when Tom Brady throws that interception in the wild card game against the Titans, and I remember just hearing like Tony Romo saying, "Oh, we're never gonna see, you might never see this again," and all that because that was Brady's last pass as a Patriot.
I was
Um,
at that game.
oh
It was
wow,
brutal.
oh wow, yeah, that and the weather was bad too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
It was
sloppy
a
game.
pretty miserable
Yeah, yeah, it was
experience.
very low scoring. Yeah, wow. Um, but yeah, it's just we were like, yeah, we're probably not going to see this again. But then all of a sudden now you see what the Chiefs have been able to accomplish, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's passing of the torch. They're doing now. They still got ways to go.
Hmm.
Again, because the Patriots did it, two separate times, and obviously, the GOAT discussion is something that's been talked about a lot. Comparing Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, they still got ways to go, but like what they've been able to accomplish in just a short period of time really is unbelievable. And you could say like, oh, like people could say, oh, I'm tired of seeing it, whatever. But it's like this is actually like what we're watching right now is amazing, and it should be
Yeah.
appreciated whether you like
Yeah.
it or not. Um,
100% agree.
because I
And what I like too is I know we're talking about sort of the villainy of the Chiefs, but like Patrick Mahomes really has given NFL fans nothing to be upset about. I know you don't like his family, but
Yeah.
I
Well, that's what
mean,
I talked about
him,
yesterday, the outside noise. Like that has
yeah,
more to do with what's going on off the football field as opposed to what's going on the football field when it
yeah.
pertains to
And the
him.
whole Taylor Swift, Travis
Right.
Kelsey thing,
Yeah.
like people get all upset about that. But really, if you look at just Mahomes, I mean, he is at least the quotes that he was giving on Super Bowl opening night, I thought were almost surprisingly humble because this is a guy who's been a starter for just 6 years and has been to an AFC championship game every season. And it would be probably pretty easy for him at this point to get all comfortable and just think, oh, yeah, I can do this every year. Like you said, Brady went 10 years without winning a Super Bowl. Like that stretch, I'm not saying it is definitively going to come for Patrick Mahomes, but it just can't be taken for granted. And I think that the fact that he's talking about, I'm not even close to halfway yet, in referring to the Brady legacy and the 7 Super Bowls, like he understands how difficult what he is doing. And I mean, I'm totally on the same page as you. I think that yeah, it's annoying to see, especially as a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
I There's part of me that like wants to get defensive of the Brady legacy and everything, but we're also still in such a young portion of Patrick Mahomes. Like we said, he's not close to 7 yet. He's done amazing things in this early start to his career. He knows he's not there yet. There's still a long time coming. And I think that it's just sort of silly to wrap yourself up getting upset about this when it's like, wow, this guy is an all timer. And what we're seeing right now is incredible.
I want to actually get your thoughts on this because what I see on social media is there's a lot of Brady defenders saying there's no chance that Patrick Mahomes can ever surpass Brady, even if he gets, I guess, even when he gets to the 7 Super Bowls, because of the fact that Brady is 2-0 against him in the postseason. So, what are your thoughts on that? If if Mahomes gets to 7, or even like surpasses 7, again, that's a lot to do. He's still got
Mhm.
ways to go. Um, can he? Would you say he can surpass Brady, or you think because of just Brady alone being 2-0 against him in the biggest games, the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl, do you think there's a chance he could surpass Brady, or there's no chance just because of Mahomes being 0-2 against him?
I think it's possible. I don't think that those two games can just be sort of the ultimate barrier
Right.
between Mahomes and Brady. I mean, like you said, there's still a long way to go in terms of it's the longevity because talent for talent, Patrick Mahomes has played the quarterback position just as good as anybody has. And
Right.
what he does is amazing. But it's Brady's resume, the continued success throughout the course of his career that makes him the GOAT, in my opinion. And so, like you said, Mahomes has a ways to go there, but I don't think it can be just those two games that separate the two. Because
Mhm.
again, the talent level of Mahomes is so great that, I think that those two games at least help make the case that if it comes to five Super Bowls versus
Yeah.
seven, and at that point you're just sort of like picking your poison. They're both great, obviously, but the 2-0 for Brady against Mahomes in the playoffs is a one up, but I don't think that it can be the defined difference forever. Nothing can ever change that because that's just not really how sports work. And I think that we have to, as sports fans, be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And also, I think context matters. Like you go to the AFC Championship game. I mean, Mahomes didn't get the ball in overtime. Like, and they were, I didn't even, I had to go back. I watched the highlights of that game, um, like a couple weeks ago. And like, I'm pretty sure the Patriots shut him out in the first half. I'm pretty sure. And it just went back and forth, especially in that fourth quarter. And then Brady gets the ball in overtime, goes right down the field, and they score. They go to the Super Bowl. And then, and again, this is not to discredit Brady, but then you also go to the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. I mean, I watched the highlights of that game last night. I mean, there were drops in that game from the Chiefs. Players are dropping passes from Mahomes,
Yeah,
and he's
Mahomes got very little help in
yeah,
that
he was
Super
running for his life. So to sit here and say, oh yeah, he has no chance of surpassing Brady just because he's 2-0, I mean, I think is a little ridiculous. And also, you go back to their regular season games. The first game they played against each other, the final score was 43-40. It's like
Bowl.
it's not like Mahomes is playing bad in these games. If he was playing, I mean, again, you could go to the Super Bowl and say that was bad, but that was, I mean, you could say that was a team effort too.
Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, I think it's a little ridiculous that people are just saying, yeah, Brady's 2-0. There's no chance.
Yeah.
But
Individual wins aren't really like I don't know where you stand on this whole like wins are or aren't a quarterback stat. I
mm,
don't think that individual games can really be counted as that. It's the overall production of how often were you able to string together these good enough performances to win a championship, because that's
right,
the goal at the end of the day.
yeah,
So, nitpicking just two games out of entire careers feels pretty dirty if that's
yeah,
all you're going to stand on. And it's just as simple as that. There's no way anything can change you from that because of two games out of these very long, illustrious careers.
hmm yeah. I mean, listen, it's going to be a topic that's going to be discussed for years, especially if Mahomes continues to do, what he's been doing. So we're going to take our second break of the show, and then when we come back, we'll talk about the NFL honors, what we think is going to happen. Before we do that, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So when we come back from our second break, we'll talk about our predictions for the NFL honors, what players are going to win the awards, and that's what we'll do when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.